Welcome to Career Quest. My name is Jordan Meeks, and I'm here with Blake Garrison with SAWS. Thank you for sticking around a little bit longer. We've talked a lot about SAWS and about the day-to-day activities and everything, but you seem super interesting and passionate about what you do. So tell me a little bit about like what you love about this role and how you got into this position.
Yeah. Well, it affords me the opportunity to spend a lot of time outside, which for me is a big draw. I just love the outdoors, love that environment, and I don't know, the mindset that I can get out there. It also, in my particular position, gives me a lot of opportunity to kind of work on my own and independently, which I don't know, I just enjoy that kind of role and being able to, make my own decisions about, what I'm doing. And I guess it gives me the chance to kind of feel like I'm giving something back, working on the trails and kind of helping manage these public lands. So that's a nice feeling to have at the end of the day.
Definitely. What would you say is your relationship to the outdoors? What makes being outside and working outside so incredible?
I guess I would say it wasn't always something that was important to me. And I spent a lot of time, mostly, I would say, through college in my 20s, where I did not get to experience the outdoors as much. And so we kind of mentioned earlier that I had the opportunity to hike the Appalachian Trail when I was in my late 20s, and that kind of reawakened the love of the outdoors and just the desire to spend as much time as possible out there. And it just kind of was calming and just invigorating at the same time.
What year did you thru hike?
2018.
Very cool. How did you decide to do that? What did that process look like? Because I am very personally fascinated by that.
Well, so like I said, I spent some time in my 20s. I would say a different kind of wandering through life.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. So without drawing it into a very long story, I went through college without a great idea of what I wanted to do after college. And I ended up kind of working in a family business for a few years, which is a legacy that I am very proud of, but at the same time, found that it wasn't something that really gave me a lot of drive.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, I just kind of found myself stuck feeling, and hiking the Appalachian Trail was just kind of the crazy reset button for that. And it worked, and it kind of led me from there into working in the outdoors and in conservation, and ultimately here at SAWS.
Very cool. I think a lot of people, myself included, can relate to that feeling. Yeah. I think it's incredible when people know from, 5 or 6 that this is exactly what I want to do. I have friends that are that way. I have family members that are that way, but I think a lot of us have no idea what we want to do. And that's really cool that you use the AT and a through hiking experience to kind of reset yourself. I think nature just inherently does that for sure. Yeah. And you've made a career out of it, which is very cool.
It worked for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I feel like a lot of people out there, are resonating with your story and the love of the outdoors, love for conservation. So what advice would you give to someone watching this video that thinks, I want to do that too?
Well, I guess I would the advice that I would give is don't be afraid to kind of get into something that sounds kind of crazy. I think a lot of these jobs are pretty unusual, having to go spend so much time out in the woods and just live your life out there can be kind of intimidating. But I wish that I had taken, more of those kinds of risks earlier in my life. And I guess one of the reasons that I'm happy to be here today is just kind of like spread the word on kind of the careers in conservation and in the outdoors, because I think it can be something that people don't really realize that you can get paid for.
Totally, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of people that are probably like, wait, I can get paid to be outside and to help. That's cool. So what are some of the things that you love about your job? What are some of the projects you've worked on you're really proud of?
Yeah, SAWS is, it's a great organization for, I think, people who are really driven to get out there and do some of the, I would say, more challenging aspects of conservation. They focus specifically on what's called federally designated wilderness, which includes some of the more remote and hard to reach spaces in our public lands. With my crew, when I was working for crews, we went out and we would do a lot of work clearing fallen trees on trails. We worked in Joyce Kilmer Slick Rock Wilderness here in North Carolina, Shining Rock, Linville Gorge Wilderness. In federally designated wilderness, you're not allowed to use any mechanized equipment, right? So no chainsaws. So we would take those big, 5-foot long old crosscut saws that you see in like history class
or cartoons.
Yes, exactly, and axes, and so you carry those all the way out on the trail, and that's how you cut the trees.
Very cool.
So we do that, and we would actually, work on projects like building new trails sometimes, which is always a pretty amazing, very rewarding project to kind of work on, because it's nothing there, and then you get done, and then there's a whole new place for people to hike.
Very cool. So from a conservation standpoint or wilderness, what is the reasoning behind not being able to have mechanized saws?
Sure. Well, it's all part of preserving wilderness character. So the wilderness system was, without getting into too many history lesson details, was created in the 1960s, 1964. And it was basically a group of people pushing the idea that there are spaces in this country that should not have any human development whatsoever. And they got Congress to agree with that eventually. They passed a law. And so there's a lot of extra protections that go into these areas. So there can't be any permanent buildings or structures or roads or anything like that. No mechanized equipment, so no chainsaws, no bicycles, not even a wheelbarrow. And so basically the general idea behind that is we're just trying to keep these areas as wild and natural as possible.
Untouched by humans.
Exactly.
Yes, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So what is it about SAWS that drew you? I mean, how important, I guess, is SAWS to our world, and especially Western North Carolina?
Sure. Well, SAWS has a great footprint all over the Southeast. They're based here in Asheville, but they have an office in Roanoke, Virginia. They have folks that work for them in basically every state in the Southeast. All the way over to Arkansas. So they really cover a lot of ground, and like I said, these wilderness areas they tend to be hard to reach. They tend to be pretty isolated. So a lot of times it's difficult to get out there and take part in these management efforts. And so SAWS is really, I think, a little biased, but really, I think a special kind of driving force in the management and the protection of these areas in the Southeast region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Blake, thank you so much for joining. It's been awesome to hear about the work that you do and the work that SAWS does.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jordan. It's been a great time.